again, viewers. My name is Richard Land. This is part 2 of a series devoted to introducing you to my younger trust and estates partners as I transition into something that resembles retirement. In part 1, I introduced you to Alyson Marcucio. You can find part 1 through the link provided below. In this part 2, I'll be introducing you to Shelby Wilson. And in part 3, I'll introduce you to Jim Flaherty. Shelby, Jim, and Alyson devote almost all their practices to estate planning, estate settlement, and trust administration. Let me tell you about Shelby Wilson. Then I'll invite you to get to know Shelby better as she presents a short video about 4 minutes long entitled Selecting the Best Entity for Your Business. Shelby's story begins on her family farm in Orange, Connecticut. Treat Farm has been in Shelby's family for almost 400 years, and Shelby was born into a rich and interesting history full of interesting characters. Shelby remembers her grandparents, who were dairy farmers, fretting over the challenges of keeping the farm as the agricultural economy was undergoing revolutionary changes and the estate taxes were a real threat. Their fear of losing the farm hit them very hard and weighed heavily on their minds. Shelby took notice. Shelby's father had died at a very young age. Shelby's mother eventually inherited the farm, but died prematurely only years after she inherited it. Imagine the anxiety that Shelby and her siblings must have been going through. At that point, Shelby was a fairly new lawyer, only 29 years old, but she was able to take on an important role in settling her mother's estate. She experienced firsthand the challenges of preserving her family's business and the type of planning required to achieve that goal for future generations. Even prior to law school, Shelby embarked on learning everything she could that was related to estate settlement and estate planning, especially for closely held family businesses. Shelby added to her real-world experience by attending every educational program she could find and developing relationships with other prominent estate planners on the national stage who focused on closely held and family businesses. Her efforts paid off as she was invited to join her mentors on educational panels throughout the country, teaching other lawyers about issues related to estate planning for closely held business owners. Eventually, Shelby was appointed as chair of the Committee on Closely Held Businesses of the Section of Taxation of the American Bar Association and was elected a fellow of the American College of Tax Counsel. That means she's in some pretty elite company. In 2021, we were very fortunate to be able to convince Shelby to join us as a partner in our firm. This video is a portion of a longer presentation at our firm's 25th annual estate planning seminar for clients. In it, Shelby demonstrates not only her grasp of the technical rules of taxation and business law, but also that she knows what it's like from the client's point of view. Now I give you Shelby Wilson in this short video entitled Selecting the Best Entity for Your Business.
My goal in this is to give you some nuggets of information and things to kind of think through. It's just from an introductory standpoint. Clients come in all the time and will say, okay, I want to start a business. And that's, sort of part of what we do, both on the estate planning side as well as in the corporate department. And the first, real question sometimes becomes, okay, well, what type of business are you in, and what type of entity are we really looking to create? And this is kind of the cradle of the business practice. And there are several different types of businesses. And again, I'm not going to list through all of them, but just sort of give you a general idea. Simple as sole proprietorships, where you're really not incorporating. You may have a business and you may be segregating, that business into different accounts and things like that, but it's really not organized, at the state level, or, it may be something that you're doing kind of on the side. And so there are sole proprietorships out there, which really, report their income at the individual level. There are partnerships and limited liability companies. And these are very, very common for a whole, multidisciplinary businesses and different, different industries. So very, very common. And a lot of times when we have clients that will, from simple as having a rental home to, to a much larger business, clients will have partnerships in LLCs. Some of these will have multiple and many shareholders. Others will be single member LLCs. So it sort of covers a whole myriad of situations. They're professional corporations. S corporations, which are a little bit less common in Connecticut because LLCs and partnerships are so easy to form, as in many states. Those have sort of taken the place over the years in many respects of S corporations, although there certainly are still reasons to have S corporations as pass-through entities. And there are also C corporations. Typically, those corporations are larger, have many shareholders. It's an older form of corporation, but they certainly still exist today. And there are different reasons to have all these, or to choose one or more of these types of entities in order to, to set up a business, or in the process, I should say, of setting up the business. Is it appropriate to have a board of directors? What are the administrative costs? What are some of the tax ramifications of some of these different entities? So really, in starting a business, you want to go through with probably both your tax advisor, your accountant, as well as your attorney, and really parse through, what is the most appropriate entity. I've had, clients that have started C corporations, for instance, for multiple reasons, and they can be completely legitimate reasons, but not also understanding that when those businesses wrap up, for instance, and dissolve, there's some pretty significant processes that need to go through, as well as some significant tax consequences that you need to be aware of. And so it's something to certainly keep in mind.
Thanks, Shelby. If you'd like to see the rest of the video, you can find the link in the description below and at the top right corner of this video. And be on the lookout for the next presentation by Jim Flaherty. Until then, goodbye, and call if you have questions. We're here to help.